Hi there, I wrote a book. It probably sucks. Hello everyone, it's Elena and I'm back with another video, and today we're going to talk about the fact that I wrote a book. Now, as I already said, it probably sucks, but this video isn't really about the quality, or rather the non-existent quality of my writing. It's more about what I learned from the process of writing this book. Because I think a lot of times we focus so much on the quality of our creations and we kind of forget about whether we nonetheless got something useful out of making them. Because I think I learned a lot from writing this, although the product is probably not great, but that's okay. Now, I just had this printed for myself, so you can't buy this anywhere. Not that you'd want to buy it anyway. But yeah, here's the book cover in case anyone's interested. And yes, I know I kind of look like Lord Voldemort because I don't seem to have a nose, but there are some very fine lines here which were supposed to be my nose. Probably should have made them thicker, but you know what? Nobody's ever gonna hold this in their hands, so it's alright if I look like Lord Voldemort. So yeah, I called this book When the Overachiever Stops Achieving. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. For those of you who don't know, I was clinically depressed in my first year at Cambridge, and that's why I took a break for mental health reasons. I'm much better now, and I'm actually a happy student now, I can honestly say that. But at the time I was quite miserable. But I was also an overachiever. You know, I had just come to Cambridge from a boarding school for which I had a scholarship. I had gotten a Harvard Book Prize, I had 2 scholarships for Cambridge, I was on committees of multiple societies, despite the fact that I was only a first year in university. So I was doing quite well by all measurements except for emotional well-being. And there I was doing pretty miserable, and it went quite undetected for a really long time. So I kind of analysed how I got there in this little piece of writing. So yeah, here's what I learned from writing this. Now, the first thing that writing this taught me is to ask myself why I do things, because I realized when I wrote this that I could trace my being an overachiever to, you know, a time where I was also doing terrible emotionally, and it had been kind of a coping mechanism because when I was younger, things weren't really going that well in my childhood, things weren't great at home, and it just seemed like everything was out of my control at home. And it just didn't seem to get better, but there was nothing really that I could do about it as like a 12-year-old. But the place where I could do something about things not going well was school. And things weren't going well in school either at the time. I was almost failing 6th grade, okay? So that's what we're talking about. But I realized in school I can affect change. I can do something about it, and I can kind of control how well things go there. And so I put in effort in school. The other thing is, it also showed me I can succeed at something, because it felt like I couldn't really succeed at home because I couldn't really make things better, and in school I could. And the other thing is, I felt quite unloved at the time, which, you know, was due to a lot of different factors. A lot of things, as I said, didn't really go the right way in my home, and not all of these, you know, are the fault of anybody. Sometimes life just doesn't go the right way, but I just felt like I wasn't loved by everyone who I wanted to love me, and I also felt a little unlovable. And I thought, you know, if I achieve more, that makes me more lovable. Which, by the way, is one of the most toxic thoughts you can have. If someone doesn't love you for who you are, they don't love you, period. But you know, 12-year-old me didn't get that. So 12-year-old me tried to do all these things, and weirdly, you know, it didn't get me the love that I wanted, but it made me happy for quite a while. It worked really well, because when you go from being the worst kid in the class to getting straight A's, every A is a celebration, okay? It's a big victory. But then as the years go on, A's become an expectation and A minuses become a disappointment. And that's kind of where I was at when I was in like maybe 9th or 10th grade, because I had come to expect these grades of me. I didn't expect my teachers to give them to me for doing nothing. I just expected myself to work for these grades and to achieve them. And I think the only reason why I didn't become like a super pessimistic overachiever at that point is because I changed schools and I went to a boarding school in Hong Kong, and there the environment was new, there were new things that I could achieve, and so I once again got these good feelings because, you know, I was on a new grading scale, there were new extracurriculars, and I was once again achieving highly, so it felt like, you know, the same excitement was coming back because now we were in a different environment, so my expectations kind of had been lowered a little at the beginning because I wasn't sure if I could still perform as well in that new environment. And so for these 2 years, I was kind of like a happy overachiever again. And then I went to Cambridge. And at that point, it was kind of hard to top things that I had already done. And that made the pressure so high that I put on myself. Now, nobody else put this pressure on me. It was literally just me. So what happened is, I went to Cambridge and I had already achieved quite a bit by that time. And I had it in my head that I had to continuously achieve at this high level. So, I had been the leader of several extracurriculars, I had a Harvard Book Prize, went to a Stanford summer program, I had several scholarships, lots of stuff, and I just thought I have to keep achieving at that same level, and I have to top it. And that's super toxic because the thing that I never asked myself during that time was, do you actually enjoy doing these things? Instead, I asked myself, okay, is this gonna make you look better? Is this gonna get you somewhere? And I didn't really stop to reflect on whether I was happy, whether I was enjoying things. And obviously, not every second of your life has to be enjoyable. Sometimes you just have to work hard, period. But you do have to have good moments in life too. And I kind of never thought about stopping for these good moments. And I never even actively tried to seek them out. And that's a big negative factor, and I think that's ultimately what made me very, very lonely. Now, I wrote most of this probably terrible book shortly after I finished my therapy back in 2019, and reading it back, like now a year later, I realized how much I have grown as a person, how much I have become less perfectionist, how much I've become much more aware of the fact that happiness matters and that it's something that is worth taking time for. Even, if it doesn't look great on your CV, that you spent like an afternoon with friends in a cinema, that's nothing you put on your CV. But that doesn't matter if it makes you happy. And so I've grown quite a bit from that perfectionist mindset, but it also made me realize I still have some of these traits. I probably will always have some of them, but just writing it all down kind of made me much more aware of what these traits are, how to spot them, and kind of to limit their influence on me, because at the end of the day, I know where these influences got me, and it was a pretty dark place, not gonna lie, and I do not want to return there. So yeah, as you can see, writing this just kind of helped me reflect on a lot of things, make sense of a lot of the things that I felt throughout my life, and it just helped me deal with a lot of my emotions and understand them better, because I'm not great at dealing with my feelings. I don't really know how to do that. I need to write them down, think about them, and then make sense of them. And that's what I did. I literally just wrote down things that I wanted to talk to myself about, and then I wrote those things on Google Docs. And when I was done, I put it all into Affinity Publisher and then uploaded it to Lulu and printed this. So that was pretty much it. If you guys want to know how I printed this, I'm going to put the 2 apps in the description box below. This is not sponsored. Just thought I'd let you know in case anyone else wants to get a little printout of their terrible writing, or maybe your good writing. Maybe you're a much better writer than I am, probably. But yeah, that is kind of the story behind this, and as you can tell, the reason is not that I'm trying to sell you a book or anything. Don't worry, that's not gonna happen. The reason is more that I want to inspire you to maybe write down some of the things that you wanted to talk to yourself about. Because it's so much easier to write than you may think. I didn't start off thinking I was gonna write a book, and I mean, it's super thin, I know. But I just, thought I have a lot to say to myself, and so started writing it down. And then I printed it out, and I think the nice thing about printing it out is it makes it feel like such an achievement, because you can like go through the pages and it looks like a real book, and it just shows you really wrote something. And to me, that feels more like an achievement than just like, a few documents on my Google Drive folder. And yeah, maybe get your stuff printed, or just at least write it down. And then think about, what have you learned from writing this down? And every once in a while, read through it again, because you can learn quite a bit from just seeing how you thought about things like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago. And you can add your own thoughts to it every once in a while. So yeah, that's the book that I wrote. I feel like I made it sound so much better than it probably is in terms of its writing. But yeah, That's the book that I wrote, which no one aside from me will probably ever read, but that's alright. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye!